rising. Its name is Islam. Its center is Medina. Byzantium was a 1,000-year-old empire. Persia had been a world superpower for centuries. Egypt was the cradle of ancient civilization. And now, from a humble desert city called Medina, a man from an unlettered society was saying to them, "Come to Islam." No one took it seriously, but 10 years later Byzantium would lose Syria. 20 years later, Persia would disappear. 30 years later, Egypt would become Muslim land. In 632, in Makkah, the Prophet performed the historic pilgrimage known as the Farewell Hajj, Wada Hajj, with more than 100,000 Muslims. In truth, this was the closing of an era. In the farewell sermon, Khutbatul Wada, centuries before modern human rights declarations, he proclaimed, "There is no superiority of an Arab over a non-Arab, nor of a white over a black. Your lives, your property, and your honor are sacred. Treat women well. They are a trust given to you. I leave you two things. If you hold firmly to them, you will never go astray: the Book of Allah, the Quran, and the Sunnah of His Messenger. Let those who are present convey this to those who are not. Perhaps the one who hears later will understand better than the one who heard directly." Then the Prophet asked, "Have I conveyed the message? Do you bear witness?" A strong voice rose, "Yes." The Prophet said, "O Allah, bear witness." That day, Islam was completed. Revelation came. "Today I have perfected your religion for you, completed my favor upon you, and chosen Islam as your religion." After the farewell Hajj, the Prophet returned to Medina. A few months later, he became ill. His fever rose, his head was in pain. He lived his final days. His last words were whispered, "Rafiqul Allah." It meant the highest companion. His hand slowly fell, his breath stopped. On a Monday morning in the year 632, in his modest room in Medina, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the mercy to all worlds, passed away. He left behind not only a cloak and a sword, but something far greater: an unshakable faith, a state structure, and a book that would change the lives of billions. His prophethood lasted only 23 years, but in those 23 years, a religion was completed, an ummah was born, a civilization was built, Arabia was united, the Quran was revealed, prayer, fasting, charity, and pilgrimage were made obligatory, justice, equality, and human rights were proclaimed. At the time of his death, there were more than 100,000 Muslims. All of Arabia had entered Islam. Borders had formed with Byzantium and Persia. The foundations were laid. By the end of 632, the land of Islam was still small, but the core was planted. The seed was in the soil. Now it was time to grow, time to expand, time for conquest. The period of the four caliphs was about to begin. But the main question was this: who would carry this trust, and how? With the death of the Prophet, confusion arose in Medina. The Ansar and the Muhajirun had not yet agreed on a name. Everyone was shocked by the Prophet's death. Meanwhile, tribes outside Makkah and Medina, who had only recently entered Islam, were armed. Civil war was possible. For this reason, the Muslims put forward Abu Bakr as a candidate, and the majority chose him as leader. Many Muslims pledged allegiance to him. The first major crisis was overcome. With a selection similar to a democratic process, the first caliph was chosen. After the Prophet, Abu Bakr delivered the first constitutional speech in Islamic history. He said that the leader is not above the people. He must be accountable. He can be criticized. He can be removed. The West would celebrate this idea 1,000 years later as the Magna Carta. Muslims were living it in 632. But now there were major problems to solve. After the Prophet's death, Arabia began to fall into chaos. Tribes rebelled one after another. If Muhammad has died, then nothing binds us anymore. Some refused to give charity, some returned to their old idols, some invented new prophets. Musaylima al-Kadhdhab in Yamama was the most dangerous. He gathered an army of 40,000. Tulayha ibn Khuwaylid in Najd raised tribes in rebellion. Aswad al-Ansi in Yemen killed the governor. Saja, a woman, claimed prophethood and allied with Musaylima. 70% of Arabia was in rebellion. Only Makkah, Medina and Taif remained loyal. Some of the companions were worried and said, "Abu Bakr, wait. Make peace with them. Let us accept their prayer and not take charity. That should be enough. Otherwise, a great civil war would begin." Abu Bakr refused angrily, because the Prophet would never accept this either. Abu Bakr was his most loyal friend and follower. He sent 11 armies, each to a different region. Khalid ibn Walid, known as the Sword of Allah, was sent against the greatest threat, Musaylima. By the end of 632, Khalid ibn Walid reached Yamama with 13,000 Muslims. Musaylima's army was 40,000 strong. They were experienced in war and well-armed. In the first attack, the Muslims were pushed back. In the second attack, again they were pushed back. The situation was very serious. That day, 700 Muslims were martyred. Among them were 360 Quran memorizers. The battle ended with a Muslim victory, but with heavy losses. Because many Quran memorizers were being killed, there was a fear that the Quran could be lost. For this reason, the Quran was collected and written as a single book. About 20 years later, during the time of Uthman, it would be copied and distributed across the Islamic world. Abu Bakr's greatest success was not conquest. It was preventing Islam from falling apart, and he succeeded. Arabia was united again. As he approached his death, the fronts of Syria and Iraq were opened and armies were sent there. Victories were coming one after another. Especially in 633, the first major conquests began. When Abu Bakr passed away in 634, Umar ibn Khattab became the leader. Umar became one of the most striking leaders in Islamic history. During his time, Islam stopped being a regional power. It became a global force. But this expansion was not random. The world was already ready. The Byzantine and Sasanian empires had been fighting each other for years. The people were poor. Taxes were heavy. Religion was used as a tool of pressure. When the Islamic armies arrived, in many places they were met not with resistance, but with relief. The Battle of Firaz, 634, was especially important. The Persian and Byzantine armies joined together. For the first time, two superpowers stood side by side against the Muslims. 70,000 Persians plus 80,000 Byzantines plus Arab Christians equals 150,000 soldiers. The Muslims were 15,000. The ratio was 1 to 10. Khalid attacked at night. He struck with chaos. He burned the Persian camp and caused panic among the Byzantines. The battle lasted until morning. The Muslims won. Enemy losses, 100,000 dead. Muslim losses, 500 martyrs. The Persian front collapsed. At the same time, the Syrian front advanced with 4 armies, moving toward Homs, Damascus, Jordan, and Palestine. Byzantium was shocked. Where did these Arabs come from? Why are they so strong? They gathered a massive army, 200,000 soldiers, professional Byzantine legions, armored cavalry, Arab Christian allies. The Muslim commanders withdrew and united. They gathered near the Yarmouk River. At the Yarmouk River, 40,000 Muslims faced 200,000 Byzantines. Khalid was a tactical genius. He divided the army into groups and appointed a commander for each group. The battle lasted 6 days. On the 6th day, a storm broke out. Dust clouds covered the sky. The Byzantine army could not see. The Muslims attacked with the storm at their backs. The Byzantines were pushed toward the river. Panic began. Escape, chaos, drowning, the river filled with bodies. The Byzantine army was destroyed. Byzantine losses, 70,000 dead, 40,000 fleeing or captured. Muslim losses, 4,000 martyrs. Heraclius looked at Syria from Antioch and said with tears, "Farewell, Syria, you were a beautiful land, but now you belong to the enemy." The conquest of Jerusalem. When the great Caliph of Islam went to receive the surrender of the city, he was traveling with his servant and they were taking turns riding the camel. When they reached Jerusalem, it was the servant's turn to ride. So Umar entered the city on foot, holding the reins of the camel while his servant was riding. This scene shocked everyone. In this moment, the concept of the justice of Umar was written into history. 637, the Battle of Qadisiyah. The Persian commander Rostam gathered an army of 120,000 soldiers, war elephants, armored cavalry, storms of arrows. The Muslim commander Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas faced them with 30,000 men. Rostam was killed. The Persian army collapsed. Madain was conquered, the Persian capital. 400 years of Sasanian palaces, a golden throne, curtains with pearls, silk carpets. The spoils were enormous. They were brought to Umar in Medina. The Muslims had never seen such wealth. Umar cried and said, "This much wealth brings fitna. People will become attached to the world." He distributed the spoils equally among the soldiers. He left the palaces simple. 642, the Battle of Nahavand. They called it the Victory of Victories. The last great Persian army was completely destroyed. The Persian Empire was now finished. The conquest of Egypt, the gates of Africa open, 639. The commander Amr ibn Alas wrote to Umar, "Give permission for Egypt. It is the treasury of Byzantium and the land of grain." Umar hesitated. Too far, too risky, but he allowed it. "Go, but with a small army. I do not want great losses." Amr entered Egypt with 4,000 men, the land of pharaohs, the land of the Nile, the land of pyramids. 640, the Battle of Heliopolis. The Byzantine army was defeated. 641, the Siege of Alexandria, one of the greatest cities in the world. The siege lasted 14 months. In the end, the city surrendered. Egypt became Muslim land. Total conquered area, about 5.5 million square kilometers, the core of the Arab Islamic Empire. 644 November. During the dawn prayer, Umar was stabbed from behind by a Persian slave and was martyred. The Persian Empire had fallen. This was an act of revenge. The period of Uthman and the first cracks. During the rule of Uthman ibn Affan, conquests reached Cyprus and North Africa. The Islamic navy appeared on the seas. During this period, Islam continued to advance toward North Africa, the Caucasus, Khorasan. The conquest did not slow down. Tripoli was conquered in 643. Cyprus was conquered in 647. 651. The Persian Empire was completely destroyed. 655. Byzantium prepared a massive fleet of 500 ships to destroy the Islamic navy. The Muslims had only 200 ships. But through tactics and close combat, they captured enemy ships. Byzantine naval dominance was broken. The Mediterranean began to turn into an Islamic sea. Uthman's greatest service was this. He copied the Quran manuscripts that had been collected during the time of Abu Bakr and sent them across the world. This ensured unity and standardization of belief. However, Uthman's gentle character and his appointment of members of his own clan, Banu Umayyah, to positions of power caused unrest in society. Rebels from outside Medina surrounded the caliph's house. Uthman was martyred while reading the Quran. His blood fell onto its pages. That blood marked the beginning of the first great fracture in Islamic history, the coming of civil war. The period of Ali. During the time of Uthman, the Islamic Empire had reached about 12 million square kilometers. It had grown almost twice as large compared to the time of Umar. But every rise has a price. In 656, when Uthman was martyred, Medina